Daniel Heath is today's assistant instructor. Daniel, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Daniel?
A little bit about myself. I I like to play video games, watch movies, stay at home. Really much. That's pretty much it.
Cool. Very cool. What's a fun fact about you?
Fun fact about me: I played football and basketball in high school, and I kind of quit both sports for some reason. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Cool. What positions did you play?
I was a receiver, and I was a small forward.
Okay, cool. What's a question that you want to pose to our group today, Daniel?
Geez. I feel like this has been asked before, but Android or iPhone, and why?
What is the question? Sorry, Daniel.
Android or iPhone, and why?
Gotcha. Thank you. All right. So in the chat box, are you team Android? Are you team iPhone? And why? Daniel, what about you? What's your preference?
Honestly, when I was younger, I used to like Androids,
Okay.
mainly because my parents wouldn't get me an iPhone. But I'm all team Apple right now.
You're all on team Apple right now?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think I shared yesterday in class. I have an iPhone, and I feel like I'm kind of like Apple's very smart. Because I got my first iPhone like trying to think what year that was, maybe like 2013 or somewhere around there. And now I feel like I just like can't change, even though it was 8 years ago. I'm sure I could get an Android. I probably would really like it. And here's the thing about me, is like I know fundamentally that Androids are better. They're just better phones. But I'm just so used to an iPhone, I just don't want to change. So what does it say about human psychology? I don't know. So
yeah, check to that.
What's that, Daniel?
I said check to that.
Yeah, it's like funny because like you kind of are like, I mean, we're humans. We know how to change. We're adaptable people, but for whatever reason, you just get what you're used to, and it's hard to change. So, all right, Daniel. Well, thank you for being today's assistant instructor. We appreciate you being in our class and you sharing a little bit about your background. All right, so let's take a look here. We got Android, iPhone. Audrey says both. Rashid doesn't want Samsung to blow up in his ear. Kayla says iPhone because I can't look at that green text message. iMessage, iPhone, Android. All right, I'm gonna quit the mix here. Oh, and also to answer the questions from earlier, if you did not get to be assistant instructor because of blackout week, you will get a chance later on during this mod. There'll be some dates available for you, so don't worry. Your time to shine will come. I have a stylus on my phone, so I'm lit. Okay, cool. That's interesting, Raphael, because I always thought like iPhones were for pretentious people, but now you're saying Androids are for pretentious people. Has that changed in the last few years? I'm not really up with the culture and the trends. I always thought like iPhone people were snobby, Android people were more like practical. So no, so Cantor disagrees. This seems like a very hotly contested issue. Alan, please inform a brother what's going on here.
I think personally, like I have an iPhone. That being said, I had an Android prior to this pretty much all my life.
Yep.
I had like the S series. I went from like S3 to like S7 Edge. I would say if you work through your phone or you have many different itineraries, so you're on like you're a very scheduled person. So like someone who travels a lot, has a lot of flight itineraries,
right,
and stuff like that. Android, in my opinion, is the better option. If you are looking for a powerful phone to simply to scroll through social media, talk, text, and use the phone as a phone, get iPhone. But if you're a very busy person and you use your phone for work, I would immediately take an Android over iPhone.
All right, Alan, thank you for that analysis. That's really interesting. My brother-in-law, he's a big techie and he has an Android and that thing is amazing. Like it's just like the screen on it is incredible, like the battery life is incredible. And I'm like, I'd love to have that phone. I don't know which phone it is. I don't know what it is. I don't want to embarrass myself. Might be the Note 10. Now I'm looking in the chat. It's like, it's big. It looks like an iPad. And that thing lasts so long with the battery. Like, I had to charge my iPhone like 3 times a day. And he like would go like 2, 3 days without charging his. And he's also a businessman. He travels a lot. He's like, oh yeah, I'll never get an iPhone. It's not made for the life I have. So anyways, we're not here to talk about iPhones versus Androids, are we? We're here to talk about project management. So last night you all had a deliverable, and that was to look up project management. What is it and why is it important for you to learn? I spent some time this morning reading through your answers on the discussion board. So great work to everybody who submitted. I just kind of want to hear from people in the room. What were some things that you learned, that you picked up on, that you thought were interesting, that you wanted to discuss more before we jump into today's class? Yeah, Kayla, go ahead.
I like the point that said plan and schedule. I feel like that's like a big part of project management, especially when it comes to like meeting deadlines and making sure everybody does like their part in the project and stuff like that.
Yes, definitely. Planning is a huge part of project management. We'll spend a lot of time during this mod talking about planning and how to plan effectively. And yes, the second thing you said was the accountability, making sure everyone does their part. Project management is an exciting field because you're working with a team and you're working to get something done together. Excellent. Thank you. Jason?
For me, learning from failure was a major point because I was always told from my last place I've been was fall forward, not backwards. So no matter even if you fail at doing something, even project manager, when your team is not doing, or if your project is not going the way you want, you're still learning something or taking that outcome from there.
That is absolutely right. I've also heard a similar ideas, like one is fail fast, because failure is how you learn. So fail as quick as possible. And Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, he has this saying that in the early days where it was something like move fast and break stuff, because his whole philosophy was like, if we're going to grow through making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And if we try to tread carefully, we'll never grow. So yeah, learning from your mistakes, really important, critical piece of project management. Excellent, Jason. Izzy?
What stood out to me was the encouraging teamwork. Because I like to bring the best out of people sometimes.
Yeah.
So I like to collab a lot and make sure that all of my group members are feeling confident in what they're doing and how they can work together as a team. Only because I like wisdom. I want to be the bigger person of wisdom, and to always be there for people when whenever they have a question or something.
Yeah, absolutely, Izzy. I love that. That's actually my favorite thing about project management as well. Because when you're a project manager, you're not necessarily someone's boss. Very rarely, in fact, are you someone's boss. So like if Izzy's my boss and Izzy says, hey, Eric, I need you to do X, I'm going to do it because he's my authority and he's my manager. And I want to, obviously keep him happy. But if Izzy's my project manager and I'm on his project and he says, Eric, I need you to do X, it's like, well, maybe I will, maybe I won't, and you have to, as a project manager, be a person who knows how to influence, not with your authority, but influence through, you're literally like human psychology. Like, how do I motivate this person who I have no direct authority over? I'm not his manager. I'm just managing this project. That's one of the things I find really fascinating about project management. They'll spend a good amount of time chatting through. Excellent. Miguel?
Where it said, I'm sorry, one sec, I'm just looking at it again.
No problem.
Where it creates more opportunities to increase transparent communication practices amongst colleagues.
Yep.
Because, it's sort of pretty much like along the same vein of what Izzy was saying, because it allows you to communicate more with your colleagues. You could either get to know them better outside of just the project itself. You can see what their strengths and weaknesses are and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna give you guys some trivia in the chat box. Let's see how well read we are in the room. So in terms of people staying at their jobs, the very first reason people stay at their job is because they have a good relationship with their manager. The second reason is something else, and that's nothing to do with money or the job they're doing. What do you think it is in the chat? First reason people stay at their job, I like my manager. Second reason is this, nothing to do with money or the place they work. There it is. Amir put it. My coworkers. I like my colleagues. I like working as a team. I like people that I see every day. I stay in my job because I care about my coworkers and I enjoy working with them. So yes, it's a really good point you bring up, Miguel, with project management because you have the opportunity to work with a team. And you get to like learn from people's experience and background. I mean, even this morning I had to call Malik regarding something. Some of you know who Malik is. He's a program manager here at Europe, and we just chat for a few minutes about something that I had to do, and then we just talked for 2 or 3 minutes about our personal lives and what's going on with our kids and our partners. And he's in Brooklyn, I'm in the Bronx. We just kind of caught up, and that's just part of the workforce. That's enjoyable. It's nice to have people to talk to. That's one of the challenges, of course, of being virtual as well. Those water cooler conversations aren't quite as natural. So Brian, I saw you had your hand up and you put it down. Were you going to say the same thing as Miguel?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. I didn't have my hand up though, but yeah, I agree with what Miguel said.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you had your hand up for some reason. Maybe I was just looking at the beautiful sunset behind you. That looks really lovely. Is that in Queens?
No, I got it off of pexels.com.
Okay, cool. Well, it's very nice. Desmond?
Yeah, I was just gonna add and make you to like get more confident in asking questions. I think so. Like, cause you need to like gather more information to like
Mhm.
what you're doing and plan out.
Yes, for sure. It makes you more confident as a person. It helps you. I think someone put in the chat, like leadership skills. It helps you grow in that area really quickly. And gives you a lot of confidence as well. Like when you deliver a project and you do a good job, you're like, wow, like my team did that. That's really cool. Amir?
For me, something that stood out is because I also like to I like project management or program management as well. You could
Mhm.
say is because I like to take leadership roles as well. And
Mhm.
something that stood out to me that I want to improve on myself is making risks more visible so you can limit failure. This way, your
Mm,
team is more comfortable and they're working not like they don't feel as pressured. They're gonna put out their best quality they can.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, mitigating risk, identifying risk early. We chatted about that a little bit yesterday. That's one of the things about being a project manager is you have to be um somewhat cynical. Like you have to like kind of look at things like, I know we have this big grand vision, but let's also take a step backwards. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. Let's discuss those things. Not because you want the project to fail, of course not. You want to succeed, but it's much better to know, in the early days, X, Y, and Z could go wrong. Let's prepare for it. So if it does, we're ready, as opposed to being, 6 months or a year into the project and realizing, oh shoot, this did not work out the way we thought it would. Nobody wants to be doing that. So yes, managing risks, very important. Thanks, Amir. Desmond, do you have another comment, or was that hand from earlier? Okay, great. All right, guys, I have a PowerPoint deck I want to click through with you all. If you want to go ahead and go off camera for this portion, feel free to. Thank you all for your well wishes for my health. I feel a little bit better today, but not quite 100%, but a little bit better. So I believe this was the last slide that I shared yesterday, and that's simply this. A project always starts with a problem. Very important. This will be on your midterm. I would write this down if I haven't already. But every project starts with a situation or an issue that needs to be resolved. We talked yesterday about what those issues could be. And then basically you have a team of people that work together to solve that problem. So this graph I think is really interesting. Let me go ahead and get my anecdote tool. So, oh, that's an interesting shape. All right. Anyways, you have the project sponsor. So anybody recall from their reading or their studying yesterday, who's the project sponsor in a project management? What does that person or that group of people do? Can someone raise their digital hand and share? If you didn't read about it, I bet you that you're smart enough to put 2 and 2 together and think, what does a sponsor do? They give you, Maria, what does the sponsor give you?
Aren't they the ones that help you with the image and presentation of your brand or like project what you're trying to show to people?
They might do that, but very, very fundamentally, they do something different. Maria, let me ask you a question. If I'm a skateboarder and I want to become a sponsored skateboarder, what do I want to become? A person who gets blank for skateboarding.
The money?
The money. Thank you, Maria. Excellent. You get the money. The project sponsor is the person who provides the money for the project. Very important. All projects cost money. So it's very critical that you have a project sponsor that provides the money. Without this person, nothing happens. All right. Next in the tier, project manager. We've already discussed a little bit about what that is, but that's the person who manages the ins and outs. They interface not only with this person, but they also interface with these people as well. The project management team and the project team, these two can pretty much be used interchangeably. Most projects, we won't even have this right here. You'll just have the project team. And this is like more so for like really large scale, multi-million-dollar projects. You'll have a management team in between the project team. And then last, you have the stakeholders. Now, anybody know what a stakeholder is? Anybody read about that in your studies yesterday? Sikander, what's a stakeholder in project management?
Person that's essentially can be affected by the project or the company that they're a part of.
That is 100% right. Thank you, sir. The stakeholder is anybody who's affected or impacted by the project. And if you notice this chart, I love what this does because everybody in this whole entire big circle, I'm having kind of fun drawing with this today, is a stakeholder in a sense. All right, they're all affected by the project and the outcome of the project. But there are people in this little light blue graph out here in La La Land who aren't involved at all in this, but they're still stakeholders in the well-being of the project. Can anyone think of an example? Anybody feeling very, very smart this morning and feeling like I have an idea of like an example of a stakeholder who's not involved in any of this? And there's millions of examples. You've been stakeholders in projects where you've had nothing to do with the actual execution of the project, but it's affected your life somehow. Anybody have an example of that, Kayla?
Sorry, I think I misunderstood it.
It's okay, no problem. Jason?
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark here and I'm gonna say kind of like participation in class.
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good point for sure. Let's suppose that I'm designing this class, right? You had nothing involved with designing this class, but you're a stakeholder. You're a participant in this class right now. You're engaged in what's happening here. That's great. Matthew?
In terms of business, usually stakeholders are like customers, people that invest in that certain company.
Exactly. Excellent. I love that. So whether you're a consumer of a product or you're a stakeholder in terms of like you invest in the product. For example, I use Airbnb before COVID. I used it a lot, probably like 10 times a year. I would do an Airbnb somewhere around the country. And I also own Airbnb stock. But guess what? I don't have anything to do with anything Airbnb does internally. I'm not involved with any of their projects. I don't know what they're doing out there in California. I don't know what they got in the pipeline. I'm a stakeholder because I use their product and I invest in their product. So I care about them succeeding. Yes, Sikander?
So is investing in a product not more of a shareholder than a stakeholder?
I mean, you could use those terms interchangeably. It's really interesting to bring this up because this can be very nuanced. Typically, shareholders are more like, I care about the bottom line of the product, and I want to make sure I get the most return on my money. A stakeholder is I care about the overall like company in general. Like I care about every sense of how this is impacting the world. So for example, the company Salesforce, which is a partner of Year Up, and a company that I used to do a lot of work with, they don't even call their shareholders because they say shareholders just care about the money. We say you're a stakeholder. So if you buy stock in this company, you not only care about us making money, you care about the locations where we build a new office. You care about our employees. You care about our customers. You care about our team wellness. You care about our neighborhoods where we're giving back. You care about everything. So a stakeholder is more of a all-encompassing, like I care about every detail of what's happening here. A shareholder is just like, how am I gonna get a return on this? So yeah, to answer your question, so Canada, you can be both and. So for my example of Airbnb, I'm both a shareholder and a stakeholder because I want to make more money off of my investment, but I also want to go to an Airbnb that's going to be a positive experience for me and my family when I show up and not a mess. So is that helpful? Do you have a follow-up question on that?
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you have your hand up, Matthew, as well?
Oh, you pretty much just summed up what I was gonna say. The
Mhm.
differences between stakeholder and shareholder.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. But it's a very good catch. Very, very, it's obviously very nuanced because like it's pretty much the same word, but there's a little bit of a tweak in that. All right. All right, here we go. So project sponsor, really quick. They basically are the only person who can say, yeah, this is not working out. Let's just nix it. The project manager can't be like, hey guys, I don't want to do this anymore because the project manager, particularly for large scale projects, is not the person who's also the project sponsor. They're not paying for it. They're managing it. They're not paying for it. But the project sponsor can say, all right, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. Of course, we already said this. They provide the money. And curiously enough, they're ultimately the decision maker here. I mean, maybe in some relationships, they'll defer to the project manager and saying, I trust you to do it. But for people who are putting their money up front, they're most likely going to want to have a clear understanding and idea of what's going on. And then, of course, the last thing is that they're very crucial in the scope and the project charter, which we will talk about, if not tomorrow, definitely next week. But this is kind of the roles that they assume as a project sponsor. So do me a favor in the chat box. Imagine they want to build a new train line in New York City. In the chat box, who is the project sponsor? All right, I see two responses. I see New York City and I see MTA. So the people who are funding the project would be the city and or the state of New York. So if you're a tax-paying New Yorker, which I think a lot of us are, we're the ones who are funding that new project. So new train line gets built, we pay for it. This is what's very interesting about being the project sponsor, though, is like, what if a train line is being built in Queens and you live in Manhattan and you haven't gone to Queens since 2002? Why do you care about a train line being built in Queens? You don't benefit from it, but that's how it works. You pay taxes. The city decides how they're going to spend your money. And they just said, we need a new train line in Queens. So the folks in Queens get it. Same with driving, right? Suppose you don't drive, you still have to pay for the roads being paved. You still have to pay for the the construction going on the highways. Suppose you don't have children, you still pay for public schools. This is how it works. You're the sponsor. All right, I see three hands. I think Miguel, you were first.
Yeah, my question was just it was more along the line. It was about this. Isn't the MTA a private company though?
The MTA is a public company.
Oh.
Yep. So interesting question. So if you want to do some New York City transit history, there used to be 3 subway lines in New York City. I don't recall the names of all of them right now. It's been a long time since I've been to the Brooklyn Museum of Transit. But one was the IRT. Remember my grandpa who grew up in the Bronx talking about riding the IRT. I'm like, Grandpa, what are you talking about? What's the IRT? And then there was another one. There's 2 other ones, but I know the IRT went from the Bronx to Manhattan, which I think is now the 456. No, it's now the D and the B line, I believe. Anyways, long story short, trains don't make money. Mass transit does not make money. So basically, these 3 train lines said we can't make a profit. The city and state of New York said, okay, we're gonna buy out the trains, and because it's a lifeblood of New York City. I mean, if you live in Flushing, Queens, and you work in Hell's Kitchen, you're not going to drive there. You're not going to walk there. You're not going to bike there. And take the train there or the bus there. So that's why the city took over the MTA a long time ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. But to answer your question, Miguel, it used to be private, yeah, years back. But unfortunately, you can't really make money on $275, a person, and not especially now with COVID. So. Good question. I think Amir was next.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, are sponsors consistent in every project, or because I'd imagine not every project requires funding, right?
I mean, most of the large scale projects require funding, but if you have a project that requires none, then you wouldn't have a project sponsor. Yeah, it's a good point.
Okay.
So if you had like a small project, let's imagine, Amir, that you and Matthew and Jason are going to create a manual for your participants. How do you succeed in Europe? It's going to be a 10-page manual. There's no funding that requires that. It's all digital, so there would be no project sponsor there. But there would be stakeholders, people who are invested in that turning out well. Yeah, but the majority of projects do have a little bit of funding involved. And I mean, the one like this, a new train line, we're talking millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
question.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep, Matthew.
So, will taxpayers be considered project sponsors for anything that the state of New York does? Like, you mentioned paved roads, anything that they're doing construction wise.
Yeah, I mean, we're the ones who pay that bill. That's how it works. So yeah, anything that's public, infrastructure, like we're the ones paying for it. We pay for our Congress people. We pay President Biden's salary. We pay for all those things as tax-paying people. Yep. Good question. All right. So now, who's the project manager? Remember that chart we saw a little bit ago? You're the project sponsor, the tax-paying people of New York. Now, who's the project manager? Ensures the project is executed on time, reports back to the project sponsor, and this is the person who, day to day, is involved with the project, ensuring that it's doing what it needs to do. Project sponsors, we as the city of New York, we're not involved in the day to day. We're not down there with a flashlight making sure the work is being inspected, but the project manager is. So they want to build a new train line in New York City. Who's the project manager? And give you a hint, some of you answered the right thing for the last question. There we go. I see it. Jason, Megan, you guys all got it. The MTA. So who's a project manager, an employer, contractor at New York City Transit? They're the person who is managing this project. Last but not least, the project stakeholders. Who is impacted by this project? Like we said before, this is the big circle that encompasses everybody involved. So last question, you guys are getting the hang of this. Who's a stakeholder in this project? New subway lines being built. Who is the stakeholder? Yep. Anybody who's paying taxes, anybody who's riding the subway. Now here you guys go. We're gonna go one step further. I saw somebody put up earlier the Q line that went uptown, right? That got built a few years back. What if you're a person who lives on the street, I think it was on 2nd Avenue, and you don't ride the train, you drive everywhere you go, and for whatever reason you don't pay taxes, but you live on the line, you live on the street where they're building a subway. Do you think you're a stakeholder? Raise your hand. You can put in the chat yes or no. You don't pay taxes, and you don't ride the subway, but you live on the street they're building it. Davian, you say you're still a stakeholder. Why is that person in our imaginary scenario still a stakeholder?
In my opinion, because they live in the area, is being built in their neighborhood. So, they'd want to make sure that everything is going accordingly.
Exactly. And I would even wager to say that person is probably more of a stakeholder than the person who lives, in Far Rockaway and pays taxes, even though that person in Far Rockaway rides the train. And that person in Far Rockaway pays taxes, but that person in Far Rockaway, that's not happening in their backyard. They don't really, look at it every single day. But that person who's happening, they look out their window and, oh my gosh, are they still working on this train line? It's been like 10 years. Yep, they're still out there, still drilling away. Saturday morning when you're trying to sleep, they're still out there. So that's exactly what those terms mean. So you have the stakeholder, the sponsor, you have the project manager, and you have the stakeholder. All right. And of course, you have the team as well. That's pretty self-explanatory. That's the people who are working to make it happen on the subway line. All right. stop sharing my screen. You guys can come back on camera, please. And Audrey, you asked, don't you become a stakeholder when you are being involved in it? Audrey, can you kind of share more about what you mean there, please?
It's just that you said that the person doesn't pay taxes, right? And none of that. But then you said that a stakeholder is someone that like participates in it, right? But then
It's a good distinction. Participated might be too much of a stretch. It's anybody who's impacted or affected by it. So if you live on that street, the drilling on your sidewalk, and even if you don't ride the train and you don't pay taxes, you're still impacted because it's happening right there in your neighborhood. Anybody who's affected by the project is a stakeholder in that project.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Good question. All right. Any other questions on those three terms, what they mean? All right, cool. I'm going to put you guys in breakout rooms here in about 2 minutes. Before I do, I want you to look at this list I just put in the chat. I want you to pick a project. All right. Any one of those that you would like. You can also have a project of your own choosing if none of those really strike your fancy. There is no limit on how you want to go about things. Don't get too delved into details about it. Sometimes people will like page me like, hey, Eric, come into our breakout room. We're not sure how much a bridge is going to cost from Brooklyn to Jersey. Well, guess what? I don't know how much it's going to cost either. That's not the point of this activity. All right, you're not building a budget here. You're just trying to figure out who's sponsoring this, who will be the project manager, and who are the stakeholders. So those are the options you have. You can also choose your own project if you would like. One thing I find very interesting is when people choose to renovate their apartment, but you can choose whatever you want. So any questions on the breakout and what you guys are doing? All right, Brandon Maxwell, how much time do you think you need for this project, sir?
Maybe like 7-10 minutes.
All right, that sounds about right. 10 minutes, 11:14. We'll see you back in 3 hours, Alan says. We'll see you back at 11:14. Enjoy your breakout. All right, folks, welcome back. So there was 10 breakout rooms. It's way too many to hear from everybody. So let's do this. I'm going to ask for a volunteer to share their ideas, and then we'll go from there. Miguel, I saw your hand first.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was in the same group as Sikander, so he's going to be sharing the screen.
Great.
So we chose the first scenario, the building the bridge. So the project sponsor would be the city of New York, the cities of New York and New Jersey, since the bridge is going between them.
Okay.
And the project manager would be the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey.
That's right.
And the stakeholders would be the people of New York and New Jersey and anyone traveling between the two states on using the bridge.
Great. I don't know how much detail you guys got into, but did you talk about like where would you like initiate the bridge and where would the bridge finish? You did. Let's hear it.
Red Hook to Liberty Park, I think we said.
Okay.
Yeah, Brooklyn Bridge
that
Park
seemed
Pier
like the
6 to
closest.
Liberty Park. Because they were the closest to each other in proximity without us like crossing over or breaking through the Statue of Liberty.
That'd be kind of cool to have like a bridge go right by the Statue of Liberty. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
you can see, you'd be looking, if you look to your, where we planned on putting it, if you look to your left, going from New York to New Jersey, you'd see it.
Nice. Wow. Sounds like you guys really thought this through. I love it. It's one of those things I never understood why there isn't, I feel bad for my friends in Brooklyn. It's like they want to get out to like the Jersey or something like that. It just takes them forever to get out of the city. So there you go. $1 million idea right there. Love it. Thank you, group. Tyrell.
We don't have anything to share on screen, sorry.
Okay.
But I was in a group with Kaisha, Jorge, and Khadijah, and we chose the last option. So Wellness Day.
Yeah.
For Gear Up participants, we are the project manager. It was going to be, we were recommending, we were either going to say you or Keith to set that up. It just felt more in line. Then, sorry, I have it written down right here.
No problem.
Project sponsor, we said Goldman Sachs only because we thought they would maybe want to try to get more people from Europe to try to be participants with them. So this is their way of trying to coerce and then like, oh, come with us. We do wellness days with us when you're doing your internship. Stakeholders would be ourselves, anyone in the Europe participants, or the instructors as well.
Very cool. Love it. Love it. Thanks so much. Did you guys talk about like what your wellness day would entail? Or did you guys not get that far? You did. Let's hear it.
We did. So we have a ventilator box. So we'll give everyone that goes in groups of 2 or 3 minutes each. And there's just things that are meant to be smashed. You get a bat or sledgehammer, whatever. Get that frustration out. The next thing was a one-to-one confidential therapy session for 10 minutes where anyone can go and talk to a therapist about anything, and it will not be released. It's just between you and that therapist, just to get it out of your chest and get it out. And the last thing, if my team could help me, the last thing we mentioned.
Massages.
Yes, massages.
Nice.
Just a quick 10-minute massage for everyone, just to help digress the stress.
That sounds like a very relaxing day. Wow, I get to smash something, talk to a therapist, get a massage. Great. Sounds like a good day to me. Thank you so much, group. I love it. So yeah, sign me up. Seriously. All right. Excellent. Thank you. Alan?
Hello, everybody. So my group was Kayla, Daniel, and Raphael. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So we just jotted some stuff down. So we chose the creation of a How to Succeed manual for incoming participants into the program. I actually have the program there. So the project sponsor would be U of New York, New Jersey. Project manager or the project team would be the group, ourselves, Alan, Daniel, Kayla, and Raphael. Stakeholders would be incoming and possibly even current participants, because there's nothing wrong with getting some advice.
Yep.
For this project, we would reach out to site directors for the New York, New Jersey region, so like Will, Nadine, and for the sponsorship. Once approved, each of us would go to our LCs and talk to 2 people from each track. So, for LCS, it's software and IT. For LCM, I believe it's IO and IT. And then each of us would also find one person from LCV, because they're relative here too. And I just jotted some questions down that we would ask to sort of have a flow to the conversation of where we would go to it in the manual. Or where your study happens in the program, where they implemented in program or prior to. Did you work with your coaches a lot during program? Like, was that a valuable asset? How did you get through major challenges you had with the workload? So we would kind of use these like a starting point to the conversation, which would then lead to parts in the manual.
Yeah. I love this. This is awesome. Great job, team. Good work. Perfect. All right. Anybody else want to share out? I'd be curious to hear if anybody had an original idea of a project that they would want to work on. Anybody brave that or not today? No?
Are you saying an idea that you didn't list?
Yeah, one of the options was you can choose your own project. Did anybody choose their own project? Nope. Let's hear from one more group. Let's hear from, I'm trying to sort through. Actually, no, I got rid of the groups already, so it's all right. But no, great job, everybody. Really do appreciate it. It's 11:22. We got about 20 more minutes of class time to go, but we're going to go ahead and I'm going to share the deliverables. But before we wrap up, I'm going to share how to do one of the deliverables, because we haven't hit it quite yet in class. I know some of you are going to be asking to do it now. So the deliverables are very simple. Those of you who had not already responded to different people's posts on what is project management and why should I care, please be sure to respond by the end of the day tomorrow. And then also by the end of the day tomorrow, I want you to take a moment to think of an example of a project. I remember what the definition of a project is. It's something that has a clear start and end date. It's something that requires cross-collaborational teamwork that you might to do in your internship or your career. And then, so let's start off with this because sometimes people get a little bit confused. They can't think of an idea. Can someone either raise their hand or put in a chat box, like what's an example of a project that you might do in your internship or career, or maybe one that you've done in your career or role that you've had at one point in your life? Yeah, Jesus.
Maybe you might need to change like the software you're using for the ticketing system. That would be a project.
Yes, absolutely. So I love that one. You're updating the ticketing software. Yeah, Davian.
Would creating like a workshop for yourself and your coworkers be an example of one?
Yeah, you're doing a workshop for your coworkers. Yep, absolutely. That could be an example. Thank you, Tyrell.
With something along the lines of like creating a spreadsheet for stock options, or like what do you have in stock or something like that count as well?
Yeah, sure. Yep, creating a spreadsheet for stock options. Kayla, creating a website for a company. Great. Creating emails for all colleagues. I'm not sure what you mean, Sean, if you want to come off mute and explain that. Michael Perez, what was your comment?
Something that we might do will be assisting the executives of the company. So for example, moving them to another floor and updating their computers to a new system.
Yes, so like you're saying, like moving the executives to a different floor in the building. That would be a project. Yeah.
Yes, and all the equipment.
And all their equipment. Excellent. Yeah, and exactly, Sean. So you're updating emails, giving everybody like a work email. That would be something you might do in your role. Excellent. Jason?
Would be clearing backlog considered?
Yeah, that could be one, clearing backlog. Yep, for sure. Izzy?
Would making a planogram count as well?
Yeah, sure, that would work. Yep, thank you. Sikander?
Creating a presentation like based on like raw information that you got to present to the higher ups.
Yeah, absolutely. Creating a presentation. Excellent. I love it. So here we go. We just had a very smart group of people give us like 20 examples of things you could do. So sometimes people, so please don't email me and say, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. What kind of project will I do at work? You just got a lot of examples. This is recorded. Hopefully you wrote down one or two. So we'll go ahead and we'll tease this out. So let's go ahead and take Michael's example. I like Michael Perez's. Let's just say we're in an office building, and we decide we're going to move all of the senior leaders, their offices to a different floor in the building. All right. So what's the problem statement? The problem, like we said, project management problems always start with projects always start with a problem. I can't talk. So the problem statement is really simple. Is we are running out of space on our floor and we propose to move senior leaders to a different floor. All right. Now, why is this different than just saying a problem? The problem is the first part. We are running out of space on our floor and we propose moving our senior leaders to a different floor. So the problem statement is the problem plus the proposed solution. It does both of those things. So make sure you take note of that, because some of you are going to put in your problem statement, you're just going to put the problem. The problem statement should be, hey, we have the problem and a proposed solution. Yeah, I see Jesus's hand.
So just to go off the example I gave earlier, what if you were like switching systems? Because it's not really much of a problem, you know, they're just like ticketing systems. How would the problem statement look like for that?
Well, let me ask you a follow-up question. Why are you changing the system if there's not a problem?
Oh, okay. I guess so. Okay, I could say like the old program is slow, okay, or it doesn't take tickets well. Okay, thank you.
Exactly. The problem thing for that would be, we want to update our ticketing system because our previous ticketing system was obsolete to our needs. So, Yep, good. So actually, the way we would frame that is our current ticking system is obsolete. Therefore, we want to update our system. There's your problem statement. Yep. Tyrell?
When you're sorry, when you're mentioning your problem statement, are you giving just a general, you're giving your solution, but is it just in a general form, or are you being specific? Because I thought, like, for your problem statement, you would say we're moving senior levels to a different floor to consolidate all senior levels, like just to say I'm consolidating them to one specific area versus
Tyrell,
just putting
yeah,
them on a
yeah.
different floor.
I hear what you're saying. You're getting ahead of us. Next thing, the problem goal is
Okay.
what we're going to address that. I'm glad you bring that up because the problem statement is like the very general. Okay, that makes sense. That's what we're going to do. So, what is our goal? And that's what we'll get into for the next step. Yep, great observation, sir. And Claire?
Hey, Eric. I don't feel too well, so I'm gonna keep my camera off. What format are you looking for? Like, do you want this on Word? Do you want this on PowerPoint? Like, how do you want us to submit this?
A Word document is just fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, so now you have your problem statement, right? Then the next thing you want to have is your problem goal. I always like to ask this question because it always gets people riled up, but we're not going to get too riled up today because we're almost out of time. If you're sick, do you go to the doctor because you want to get a prescription, or do you go to the doctor because you want to feel better? In the chat box, what do you say? When you're sick, do you go to the doctor because you want a prescription or because you want to feel better? Prescription to feel better. There's always one Kaisha who is slick. So like I would answer this question by saying, well, I go to the doctor because I want to feel better, and whatever it takes for me to feel better is what I want. All right. So when you think about problem goals, you want to do the following things. So Tyrell, very observant, made the comment, well, that our scenario doesn't really make sense right now. What's really our objective here? So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this again. Copy and paste. We are running out of space on our floor, and we propose to move to the senior levels to a different floor. Either raise your hand or in the chat box. What's really the problem here? All right, what's really the root of this issue? We're running out of space, but what does that mean? Jason?
Basically that if any new employer would come, they wouldn't be any space on the current floor that everyone is on for them to be stationed.
Exactly. We have a traffic problem. We can't hire new people and onboard them because we don't have enough space for them to seat. What else? What other problems do we have? Just think very, very basic here. Jesus.
If there's no space for new employees, there's probably no space for new equipment either.
No space for new employees, no space for new equipment, for sure. Excellent. Think even more simple than that. It's a great observation, Jesus. Tyrell? You're on mute, Tyrell.
Lovely. Easier access to senior leaders. Instead of having them all spread out, you have them all in one spot.
There you go. Love it. Everyone's consolidated in one spot. It's easier to go up there and meet with them. They can also work together more collaboratively because they're all on the same floor now. They're not spread out throughout the whole floor plan. So Candor?
The potential for the company to grow. So if you can't have more employees, more equipment, your company can't actually grow more than it already has.
Yep, you have definitely a workflow problem there. You want to make sure that you're building for the company you want, not just the company you have. Excellent. Alan?
Everybody's answer was great. For me, when you said simple, we're just cramped. Like everybody's getting on each other's nerves because everything is so tight and there's no space.
Thank you, Alan. I was waiting for someone to say it. I mean, I like Alan. I hope Alan likes me too. But if Alan and I are sitting this close to each other every single day, we're gonna get each other's nerves. That's just human nature, right? Like we want to have some space here. So yeah, you're crammed. It's uncomfortable. You hear the person's conversation next to you. You hear them breathing. You hear them typing. You hear them sipping their coffee. It gets annoying, right? You want some space. We're still in a pandemic. 6 feet, people. Come on, like let's give us some space. Let's get even more practical. There's a long line for coffee. There's a long line for the bathroom. There's a long line for the microwave to heat up your food. Can we just keep on going? These are all the problems that are going on here. Okay, so what is the goal? how would you frame that in a goal? Because someone who's feeling ambitious, take what we just shared and put in like 3 to 4 sentences of what's the goal of actually moving the executives to another floor. I know someone's got it in them. I see Tyrell's hand. Tyrell and Jason have done a lot of contributions today. I'd love to hear from someone who we haven't heard as much from. I know who knows the answer, but doesn't want to raise her hand because she's shy. Kaisha, how would you word this? Kaisha. I know that you know
I'm here.
I
I'm
know.
just trying to figure it out.
No, I'm here to support you. You're a smart person. What problem or what goal are we really trying to accomplish with moving the senior leaders to a different floor?
Maybe a easier like flow, like a easier workflow. So if they're on top of that floor, everything's being directed. Like it's a certain specific type of flow, so everything's being directed upwards.
I didn't even think about
Does
that.
that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. It's creating a more natural work environment where everyone's seated together. The senior levels are
Yeah,
all
because people are more likely to work together if they're on the same, like if we're all mid-level, it's easier for us for the flow to be around mid-level and then escalate towards senior. That's what I was
Absolutely.
thinking.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Kaisha. Perfect answer. Anybody else want to put in the chat or raise their hand? Like if you had to sum this up in a few sentences, what would you say? And as you type that in, here's what I would say. Our problem statement, we are running out of space. On our floor, we propose to move the senior levels to a different floor. Our problem goals is we want to create a more comfortable environment for our team to work while ensuring the senior leaders have a designated space where they can collaborate. That's our goal. All right. It's different than this problem statement. You see those two distinctions there? The goal actually drills down to what we're trying to accomplish here. You go to the doctor, what do you want? You want a prescription or you want to feel better? Well, I want to feel better. That's really the problem here. Prescription helps me feel better. Moving the senior leaders up a level helps us be more comfortable. That's what the problem we're really trying to solve. Does this make sense, guys? Give me a green check or a thumbs up or a head nod if you're like, oh yeah, I kind of get this. Project management's cool. All right. Last thing, and then we're gonna be done, folks. Sorry to take a break today, but we're gonna end soon. Objectives. This is the most important thing. We gotta make sure this happens. We can all do this in the chat box. What are we gonna do to make sure we get everything to the new floor? Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. Think as basic as humanly possible. What needs to happen to move the executive leaders to the next floor up? What needs to happen? Come on, guys, don't let me down. Amir?
Move their equipment up.
Thank you. Basic as possible. Doesn't hire a moving company to move their desks, computers, printers to the next floor. Boom. First thing's done. Find a moving company. What else do we need to do?
We need somebody to connect everything, connect the networks, build everything, all the technicalities.
Look at you, Kaisha. See, I don't know why you don't speak up more. You have so many good things to say. We need to make sure the network is up to speed. Yes, for sure. Who's going to run the wires up there? Who's going to make sure everything's good to go? They need to have good Wi-Fi capabilities. Excellent. Hey, Zeus.
You need to like work out a plan because there's certain times that you're not gonna want to be moving everything because you're gonna be disrupting like the regular flow. So like an example is you might want to move stuff after like the day's ended and everyone's gone.
Ah, look at you, Jesus. Make a schedule. When's this gonna happen? How are we gonna hire movers and say, hey, we need you to help us move? Well, what day? Oh shoot, we didn't think about what day yet. Let me call you back. Maybe you should have that figured out first. For sure. Davian.
I feel like we should also inform them about the plans that are about to happen.
Yeah, they probably would like to know that, wouldn't they? What do you do when Davian's the CEO and he says, wait, what? I've been sitting in this seat for the last 20 years. I'm not moving. What do? You go back to the problem goals. Well, time out here, Davian. The reason we're doing this is because we're all crammed out there. I can hear my colleague breathing. That person's always staying by the microwave. That person's always doing this. It's better for everybody if we move. Okay, that makes sense. Yes, informing them for sure. Love it. And Claire,
I'm sorry, Eric. I actually have a question.
you have to apologize for having questions.
I don't know if you answered this already, but I'm just a little confused. What is the difference between a goal and objective? Because I was always under the impression that they were kind of the same. They were just interchangeable.
Really, really good question. Objective are the baby steps to achieve the goal. All right. So let's imagine, Anne Claire, that you decide tomorrow, you know what? I'm going to run the New York City Marathon in November. And then, wow, that's a great goal. Good job, Anne Claire. I love it. What's the first step you're going to do? I'm going to go buy running shoes. I'm going to get an app that does my training program for me. I'm going to buy a foam roller to make sure I'm stretched out and flexible and ready to go. I'm going to find a running partner. I'm going to make a playlist. I'm going to find routes around my neighborhood that I can run. See, the goal is run a New York City Marathon in November. The objectives are the way you're going to get there, the baby steps. Is that helpful and clear?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
You're welcome. Izzy?
I was gonna say, making sure that when they move the equipment up, to make sure that it's is organized, so that way people aren't so jumbled up together.
Absolutely. That's very important. Is that we have the idea written down, hire movers, but who's going to make sure that everything's set up for that people when they come back to the office? It's not just laying there randomly and they waste a whole entire day or 2 days getting your stuff organized. Yeah, Joshua?
I was going to say that you need to also develop a network structure because depending on how many people are actually moving up and the type of equipment you need to know like how exactly you need to set it up. So having like a detailed, I guess, a structure or framework of how you want everything set up and for future expansions will help.
Yeah, excellent. Love it. Network setup. You need to have that. Very important. Great. So that's what the deliverable is tomorrow night. If you guys have questions, feel free to email me or we can talk about it in class tomorrow. But I want you to take a moment to think about what is something I'll do in my internship or my career. What is the problem statement? What is the problem goal? And what are the objectives? What are the baby steps to achieve that goal? And submit that by the end of the day tomorrow. Also, guys, very exciting announcement. Tomorrow during class, we're gonna have a guest speaker. So please make sure you show up 10:30. The guest speaker is David Torres. David Torres is a class 29 Europe participant. He was an IT help desk participant, just like the folks in this class are. He's currently at Amex doing his internship and a really remarkable person. And he's going to come tomorrow, spend 45 minutes with us. I'll ask him a few questions about his experience so far in Europe. And then there'll be a Q&A for all of you. So if you guys can begin to think now, what's a question I want to ask a current Europe intern who went through this program as an IT help desk participant, and he'd be a really valuable resource for you. So tomorrow in class, David Torres will be here with us. So that's it, guys. Have a great rest of the day and see you tomorrow.
Have a good day.
Have a
Eric.
good one.
You too, Eric. I hope you feel better,
Good day,
man.
Eric.
Make sure to drink some lemon tea and some honey, get all that mucus out.
Thanks for the positive feedback, Eric.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Izzy.